Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Microsoft Office add-ins community call for October 2020. We got a lot to cover today on the agenda. Today, we're going to have Courtney joining us, going to talk about Visual Studio Code, sideload for Office Online. And then Juan's going to talk about some Outlook add-ins updates that have come out. And then Keyur is going to talk about some Excel updates announced at Ignite. And then I'll be doing a demo of a new patterns and practices sample we have. It shows how to open up in Excel. And then we have some Q&A at the end. And if you have questions, just type them into the chat, and we will be answering those as we go along. If there's any questions we don't get to today, we post a complete summary of all the Q&A, and we answer any unanswered questions in a blog summary that we put out a few days after this call. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into things with Courtney.
Okay, folks. Today I'm going to talk about registering add-ins to Office Online using query parameters. And if any of you have ever worked with add-ins in Office Online, you know that the registration process is currently manual. And it can be a little tedious to have to do things manually. It's also not great from a developer experience in that every time you make a change to your manifest, you have to manually upload it again. And it's just not a quick process. So if any of you have ever used our Yo Office tool to create an add-in, you probably know that you can automatically register your add-in in desktop. And I'll give you an example of that. So this is a Yo Office project, and it's just a task pane project. So if I go npm start here, you'll see that we boot up Word and we automatically register the add-in. Starting the dev server right there, booting Word, and see the add-in was automatically registered. And that's a really nice thing from a developer standpoint. It saves you the tedious process of having to do it yourself. The add-in will load here in a second. It's maybe just slow on my machine. But we have no similar capability for web. And we haven't had it, and people have wanted it for a while. Not only do developers want it, but we also would like it from a test standpoint, because every time we make changes to our project templates, we have to manually test them. And if we had an automated approach to doing it, it would allow us to, each time we make a change, to have a test that goes through and executes and does it. So I just want to show you the current process of registering an add-in in Word, for example. So I go insert add-ins, upload my add-in, browse, select my manifest, upload, then I have my add-in. So this is not really great from a developer standpoint in that you have to do all these manual steps. And each time I change the manifest, I have to go through that step again. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my cache here for the sake of my demo. So this add-in is not here anymore. Go ahead and close this. Okay, so what I've been working on over the past quarter is an automated approach to registering add-ins. And the way we're doing that is by appending query params to the end of a document URL. So with this document, for example, I just grab the document URL. And if you look in my package.json here, I have a document config setting. And that's just the document URL, exactly what I copied. And then we've updated our tooling set so that you can run our existing npm start web script. And what that'll do is that will start the dev server. It'll look and see there's a document parameter here, and it will construct the query params. And the query params will look like this. So what we have here is we have the dev server port, 3000 I'm running in, the manifest file name, which is just my manifest.xml here, and then the manifest GUID. And the manifest GUID is just a unique ID from here. And so I'm going to show you here how running the start web command will automatically register that same add-in using those query params. Okay, now npm run start web. Okay, so the first time you run this process, it's going to ask you to opt in to develop what we're calling developer mode. And that's basically saying that you've given the okay to allow for automatic registration of your add-ins using query params. And we added this as a security measure. Our internal security folks wanted some mechanism in place so people just don't send you a URL and maliciously cause you to add an add-in to your documents that might cause some sort of nefarious things to happen. So we opt in after we've carefully read all of the documentation, of course. And then what that does is it sets a value in your local storage that says you've opted in. Then the next time I run this, that value is stored. We see that you've opted in, and we won't prompt you for that ever again, unless you clear your cache. Now we're saying to you this warning. This warning is saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and register this add-in that's being served up at this URL. Are you okay with that? If you say yes, we will grab that manifest GUID and also put it in local storage. So every time you subsequently register that add-in, we'll see that it's already been registered and we'll never show you this prompt again. So we'll say yes. And then your add-in's registered. And so if we open up this task pane, we have our add-in. And we run this here and it says hello world. And then I've also added a command in here called demo time, and that does the same thing. So we can go in here and then subsequently make a change to our manifest. And we'll just call this demo. And then we'll run the command again. And your add-in will be updated automatically with that new task pane title. And so you're not having to go through those manual steps each and every time. And you see no prompts this time. Demo. So that's a really nice workflow. Now, sort of the holy grail that we've been searching for is the ability to do F5 in Visual Studio and register your add-ins and then attach the debugger to the browser session and be able to debug. So I'm going to demo that next. So I'm going to go and click on my debug here, and I'm going to do Office Online. And you're going to see, what you're going to see here is the browser open, and it's going to open in Chrome. And the reason I'm using Chrome and not Edge is because we're having problems with the Edge debug extension attaching right now. I have conversations going on with the Edge folks right now about why that is. So for the sake of this demo, we're going to use Chrome. And so I'm just going to do this. Opened in Chrome. Now, Chrome, I haven't gone through the steps yet, and so the local storage is not updated yet. And so, and by the way, Chrome, for some reason, is slower than Edge in loading Office Online documents. So we'll just play some elevator music while this is happening. There we go. I already set that flag to opt in. And so I'm going to go yes. And our add-in is registered. So let's go ahead and open this, because we should be attached now. Okay, so I clicked on that demo time, and you see how we hit our breakpoint right there? So I'm just going to go ahead and continue. And then I'm going to change this paragraph color to red, so we can do stuff during debug time, and it'll show up. And then continue. and go back to our document and you see red. Similarly, I can go in here and change this while we're attached, and this should build again. There, our task pane finally showed up. And then when I execute this again, demo time, did we lose our breakpoint? Oh, I think I changed it in the task pane. Yeah, there we go. I think the task pane debug session is not getting hit after doing that sort of live build. I'll have to look into that. But that's the kind of process that you can do. And it sort of gives you a really good dev loop where you can make changes, immediately upload your manifest changes with just running a simple command, attach the debugger. This is something that we've wanted to have for a while. And it, internally, it's a really nice thing for us testing, but we think it should be a good thing for developers as well. Now, what I demoed this morning was Word. You can also do this in OneNote now. And ultimately, it will be supported in Word, OneNote, PowerPoint, which I just checked in last night, and Excel, which is in code review right now. You may be asking yourself, will Outlook have this? Outlook will have a different registration mechanism, and it will not be using query params as we are using here. It will use as proposed right now, it's going to use some PowerShell commands that allow for automatic registration. So that's about all I have. If you have any questions, I guess you can put them in the chat window and I'll try and answer them.
Cool. Thanks, Courtney.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, so folks want to see these updates and try them. Is this like a Yo Office thing? Like you just get the latest version?
So the ability to use query params is available in fast food right now for Word and OneNote. And so if you were to want to try this out yourself, I think I killed my desktop session. I can put the query params in the chat session and they can append those to the end of their document URL if they're in fast food. If they're in production, it's not turned on yet in there. The tooling that I showed you is not going to be available until we've turned it on in production. So
Okay.
Hopefully in the next month, we'll have all this available. But if people do want to try it out right now, they're in fast food, they can run the query params that I'll put in the chat window.
Fast food, I assume you mean Office Insiders?
Office Insiders, yes.
Yeah.
Like if you were to go into your Office Online and you look at About, and it'll show you the version, it'll tell you if you're in the inner or outer rings. If you're in the inner rings, you can use this feature. If it shows that you're in the outer rings, it's not available yet.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Courtney.
Sure.
So switching over, so Juan, it looks like you're already presenting.
Yeah. Yes, David. Awesome. Hello, everyone. This is Juan Balmori here. I'm going to give you an update on Outlook add-ins. So basically, I have two things that I want to talk to you today, which is basically just a quick recap of what our participation during the Ignite conference that was a few weeks ago. And also I want to talk about an important update for Outlook add-ins and how they work within optional connected experiences. So let's get started. So basically, this year was an interesting Ignite because it was 100% virtual. We had a virtual hub where many teams were publishing kind of videos of their feature areas. And in the case of Outlook, there are two videos that are very relevant for Outlook add-ins that I recommend you to take a look. This is just, I think the first one is around the 35 minutes and the second one is a bit shorter than that, but it's very comprehensive. It has all the details you need to know about the latest. First one it's basically a session that is targeted to developers, and it's called Seamlessly Integrating Your Solution into Outlook. I'm gonna show you a quick recap of what we talk about that. please again go here to see the video. It's actually really cool. And then the second video, it was more targeting end users and IT pros, and it's about increasing your productivity with Office add-ins. And this video is actually I like it a lot because it shows how end users can actually take advantage of add-ins, across different products. This is we show the problem where many people are participating to solve it within an organization, and how by using different add-ins in Excel, Word, and Outlook, they can get way more productive. And we showcased a few Outlook add-ins here. I want to highlight two of them. Jira, we highlighted the Jira add-in to tracking issues within an organization. And we also show, kind of a preview of a super awesome add-in that it was built by Let's Sign It, that it's using our new event-based activation to insert online signatures. So please go there and watch those videos. I'm just going to do a quick recap of the second one, which was targeting developers, and here are the latest news in Outlook add-ins. First of all, we have shared this in this call, but we double down on announcing that single sign-on is released. It works for Outlook add-ins as well. ScriptLab, you guys, I think I showed you them about this a few weeks ago. It's also GA. We have the online meeting scenarios in mobile. So basically, this is the feature that it's targeting online meeting providers that is providing native experiences within Android and iOS. The good news here is iOS is in the process to be GA. Android is already GA'd a few months ago. And then finally, the golden kind of announcement is that we announced that the 1.9 requirement set for the Outlook JavaScript API, it was kind of almost, GA, no? The good news here, and what I want to share with everybody here, is that the plan that we have is that we are going to GA 1.9 by end of next week. So right now we are in the last phases of making sure that our documents are ready for production, for the to show no longer on preview, but it's in production. So you should be able to start, obviously start building your add-ins and submit add-ins to the store that are using the 1.9 requirement set. This is awesome. Now, the main component of this release is the Append On Send scenarios, which I talked about last week, but there is an update around them. So Append On Send is basically a top request from our community. This is an API that the developers can use basically to aggregate content to an email after sending it. And this is very relevant in very targeted scenarios, like, for example, adding classifications to an email or legal disclaimers. You can insert either just plain text or HTML. And the idea here is that we don't want users to kind of accidentally remove content that is required within the organization. For example, if you're sending an email to an external address, or if you're talking about kind of sensitive content, we don't want users to be kind of removing that. So that's why in this scenario becomes really relevant, right? Now the store is ready to start getting add-ins that are using Append On Send. Remember that Append On Send requires developers to add an entry on our manifest. So basically, you need to submit an update to your add-in to the store if you're going to be using Append On Send. And in the description of your add-in, it's going to be validated that you guys are disclosing the content that is appended. So that's going to be tested and validated. So there you go. So expect, end of next week, blog post from our team, just doing the formal, GA of the feature, right? Now, the second part of the video, you will see that it's about event-based add-ins. So this is for those of you who are not yet aware of this. We are basically releasing a new way of creating Outlook add-ins that it's based on events. So today, basically what happens with add-ins in Outlook is that if you want to use them, you basically need to go, as I'm showing in this video, you need to go click, either show the task pane or call a UILS command. It requires the user to basically click on a button in the ribbon or in the task pane to execute code. So you cannot be running kind of in the background, right? With event-based add-ins, so this video what it's showing, it's a kind of a very simplistic example that I want to add somebody to the to line on this email. If you do it with regular add-ins, you have to go and click, show a task pane or a button or add recipients. No, with event-driven add-ins, this is going to be way different. It's basically, as a developer, you can subscribe in this case to certain events. In this case, for the onCompose event, and basically execute code as part of it. No, so. This is one example of the value that you can add here, but you can also think about one of our basically golden scenarios that are part of this release is the signature scenarios. So basically during this presentation, we showed a partner of us called 2, which is also a signature provider, was sharing a lot of detail of how they're implementing their add-in. It's really awesome, so I recommend you to see it. Right? So those are two the main content that we presented on this video. Here are some useful links if you want to go more details on to build Outlook add-ins, what capabilities are going to be included in the next release, and then how can you use event activated add-ins. All right. Okay, so that's a quick recap of Ignite. Now I want to talk about this is an important feature because we've been getting a lot of requests from our field to support it. And basically it's about how Outlook add-ins behave when optional connected experiences are turned off. And I will show you in a second what I mean by optional connected experiences in case you don't know. But basically the problem that we used to have in Outlook add-ins is that when optional connected experiences was turned off, we were just basically not showing any add-ins. The idea of optional connected experiences is basically within organizations or even end users, they can actually, let me show you actually, let me give you a quick sample of what is that. So this is a setting that can be, you can actually as an end user configure it. So if you go to Trust Center, so I went to File, Options, and then if you go to Trust Center Settings, and you go to Privacy Options, there are a new settings here that you can actually control if you want connected experience or optional connected experiences. And basically this, as you know, there are many services that we are providing in the Office suite, like for example, Translator. There are engines that are connecting to, basically the internet to provide you with services, right? And as an end user or as an IT admin, this can be set by IT admins. You can basically turn off all the connections. We call that connected experiences. Basically, you will be kind of in standalone Office. And in that context, you can turn on some optional connected experiences, like, for example, smart lookups, the Outlook weather, and many other features, including add-ins. Add-ins are considered to be an optional connected experience. So here, you can set it on or off, right? And the admin can also, an admin within your organization can configure this for you. And the net effect of this previously, before we shipped this feature, is that if the optional connected experiences was off, then you didn't have any Outlook add-ins activated. So basically, we were turning off add-ins within Outlook. And of course, it turns out that this was kind of not very well received. In the sense that there are many Outlook add-ins that are critical for day-to-day business, right? So many customers, big and small, were asking us to, you should at least allow a curated list of add-ins to be deployed within my organization, and that's exactly what we did. So right now, what I want to show you here is a quick demo here, guys. Right now I am connected experiences on, which means I can basically go to the store and acquire add-ins, and I want to show you here. I have multiple add-ins installed on this example. No? So if you go to my add-ins, you will see that there are some store add-ins that I myself installed. I went directly to the store and installed them, which are Salesforce, DocuSign, and Google Meets, right? And there are other sets of add-ins that were installed by my organization, basically an admin within my organization release these add-ins either from the store or home built to the organization, right? So I can see both of them in this case, right? You will see that when I'm going to turn off connected experiences, and you will see that the expected outcome of that is that I will not be able to see the store, but I'm going to be able to see the add-ins that were deployed by IT. No? So let me show you. In this case, this is the administration experience. No? If you go to add-ins within Admin Center, you will see that as I deploy, in this example, I deployed a bunch of add-ins within my organization because I love add-ins. And let's see what happens. So if I go to, again, file options, do the whole thing again, trusted settings, privacy options. This is very buried, but believe me, this is a feature that many organizations are using, right? So I need to restart Outlook. And actually I need to restart Office for this setting to be kind of, so I need to actually close PowerPoint as well. Okay, so I'm gonna restart Outlook. And now, once I restart, I'm going to be basically in optional connected experiences off situation, right? So previously, I didn't have, as you can see, there is a bunch of movement on the ribbon. If you see that many things happen here. First of all, I don't have access. I still don't have access to the store, but there are a bunch of add-ins that are actually installed. That were the ones that were deployed by my organization. And if I go to a meeting, and I create a new appointment here, you will see that, the admin in this case also activated BlueJeans, ScriptLab, and other add-ins, So right now I am just using the add-ins that were deployed by my administrator, right? So that's basically the feature. So it's very simple, but powerful, and it's solving a very, very targeted problem that is shared by our community. And finally, what I want to tell you is, right now this update is released. It's starting version 2008, specifically on this build right here. So basically, if you update if you're in the monthly channel and you update your Office today, you're able to get this experience on the monthly channel. And now, many customers are in the semi-annual channel, which is the one that updates 2 times a year. Right now, it's in preview on the semi-annual channel. The plan is that we're going to release it as part of the update happening early January 2021. So very close from today, but we're in October. It's the last quarter of the year. So people in organizations can actually try this today if you need to. Make sure that it works, that it's send us feedback, because it's in preview right now. And that's basically the update that I have for you guys. Thank you very much. If there are some comments or questions, I'm more than able to answer there. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Juan. Yeah, I think it looked like a few questions were popping in. So if you can take a look at those, that'd be great. So I think up next is Keyur to chat through some Excel updates.
All right. So, hey, everyone, I'm Keyur. Work on our Excel add-in story, partnering with Juan, and then also partnering with our Office Scripts team. So I'm going to briefly talk about what we announced on the Office add-in space, and then I'll also just at a high level mention a couple of announcements on Office Scripts or the specific Ignite videos. The really one of the things or points to highlight is, as you'll see, and if you watch the videos, our main calls to action are for people to join our monthly add-ins community call. So it's great that you all have already learned that, and for the most part, these conference videos are now becoming summaries for us, because one of the things that we'd like to do, as Juan just mentioned, of the Outlook Connected Experiences announcement, is, hey, make these announcements on a monthly basis as they come to fruition, and then use the conferences as a way where we just get to summarize, hey, all the great stuff that we have offered. And so we took that opportunity at this in this Excel add-ins video. And so we talked about the shared runtime with not only working with parts of your add-in, but also working with custom functions. We talked about the Custom Functions 1.3 release. We talked about single sign-on, which Matt was on a couple of months ago, highlighting the general availability for not just in Excel, across Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. And then likewise, across the full platform, we also put a reminder around trying the Edge Web View 2 control. As our colleague Sudhir has been on the call before, one of the things he's mentioned is like, hey, this is something that is top of mind for us because we think this will, one, make it that much easier for you to support and create add-ins. But two, ultimately, we're like, hey, we think this is going to be the browser of the future, at least on Windows. And so having a great experience here makes sense. So anything that you can do to help us test this and find issues before we make this feature generally available later this year would be awesome. So that was just starting with the platform capabilities. And then we talked about another requirement set that we launched. And it's really cool, like in terms of Excel. Excel, when you think about it, is it's super deep. And there's thousands upon thousands of APIs. And to date, where we have over 2,000 now. And so this started with a big push as the team said, okay, we actually need to start to focus on getting to API parity. And one of the things we originally did that Juan previously would talk about was, hey, focusing on what are our most commonly used APIs. And more recently, we've taken a different approach in terms of, hey, how can we unblock the most solutions end to end most quickly? And so looking at like, hey, what are the gaps in terms of helping the community ship their add-ins specifically. And now I think it's great to see because I think this is working because we're seeing more add-ins being shipped out to production. At the same time, this long tail is going to continue to exist. And so we'll continue to pick a few things and keep releasing these in APIs. And one of the things that we didn't talk about at Ignite, but in terms of APIs, just to give you a preview of what we are working on, Raymond and team are going to be looking at the Add from Base64 API. We do have that. We do have a goal to get that out as quickly as possible out of beta. So we're internally talking about, hey, what are our options to make that available? So those were some of our APIs. And then the next segment of things that we talked about were just around our user experiences. So earlier this summer, we announced the Dialogue API where you can do two-way messaging. And I believe this one also works across Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And then with Excel specifically, we have the enable disable ribbon APIs, which you can run. They're a part of the shared runtime. These are also now generally available. We announced in the videos that it was generally available for Mac and Windows, but now I believe it's also now rolling out on Excel for web. So you should start to see that flight up any day now. And so we definitely want you to use these APIs to build more contextual experiences. And then the next thing we talked about were experiences that were coming soon, just to give the community a preview of these. And there were some demos from one of our partners, Oracle, who had a few different demo videos. A couple were around shortcut keys that they're using as a way for allowing their users to be able to do drill down operations or any grid manipulations, and then likewise contextual ribbon tab APIs. One of the features that we've heard from is, hey, people want to not only enable disable buttons on add-in commands, they want to hide and show them. And in terms of our user experiences, we want these user experiences that you create from your add-ins to be as consistent with the user experiences that Office has. And one of the things that Office has moved away from is this idea of, hey, any of our built-in like tabs, hiding and showing buttons. And instead, the paradigm that we have is now a contextual ribbon tab. And so what contextual ribbon tabs are is essentially, let's say you have a chart inside of PowerPoint or Excel or a picture, and you click on that picture, a new tab pops up with additional options. And so these contextual ribbon tab APIs really allow you to declaratively create new ribbon tabs based off of either what the user's context is or what they're was selecting. So these they are currently being tested out by a couple of customers in private preview, and we will actually have these on future community calls because the team is working hard to make these publicly available, and we'd love your feedback here. Again, like with these user experiences, our goal isn't just to keep that for Excel. We will start with Excel here, but we'll make it available to all of our hosts. So that was it. One other additional call out to make is we also had a video on Office scripts. So the Office scripts are available in Excel for Web. Two announcements there that you may not have seen. One is we recapped our simplified APIs. So for end users, we know, hey, the async pattern and context.sync and batching would be too difficult to understand. And so the simplified APIs really abstract away the asynchronicity and make it really look like just simple commands as you had in like VBA. The other big feature on Excel for Web, not necessarily a feature, it's a switch that we made as we work our way to become generally available for Office scripts, it's now enabled by default. So this is rolling out. So before IT admins had to go, you'd have to ask your IT admin to turn on the feature. Now the feature is on by default. Of course, IT admins can still disable that. So that was it from the Excel side. We have a bunch of great new stuff coming down the pipeline, and this is the place to be to learn about that. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Keyur. All right. So I'm going to talk about a new patterns and practices sample that we have called Open in Excel. Just a real quick background on what this scenario is about is if you have a SaaS web application where folks are working with data on your website, there's often a point where they'll want to take that data into Excel to continue work on it in some way. Maybe doing additional analysis or creating charts. And the way this would work in the past is you'd let them export a CSV file. Traditionally, this is how it would work. You create a CSV file. The user then has to go import that into Excel. And then if they want to remain connected to your services, like say you have an Office add-in, they have to go find that Office add-in in the store or through central deployment and get it set up. So there's a number of steps for them to go through. And the idea of this scenario is like, hey, let's simplify that so it's as close to one click as possible, where someone can just say, hey, take my data, open in Excel. Your Office add-in is already there. And as we'll see, this goes through the steps of using Office Open XML to embed your add-in and create the file. And then using Microsoft Graph, you can upload the file to OneDrive. This scenario was actually demoed a year ago in September of last year by Jake Armstrong at Vena Corporation. They've actually implemented in this Office add-in very successfully. And that was a great demo he showed. And so basically this pattern is taking that same approach and showing you how to do it. So let me get over to some demo stuff. Let's start with, okay, so here's the article for Open in Excel. And what this does is it uses an existing sample on GitHub called the Office OOXML Embed Add-in. So this has actually been out there for a couple of years now, I think. Well, I guess 3 years according to the history here. And what this does is it allows you to take an existing file and insert the ScriptLab add-in into it. And so basically what we did is we took this approach and showed you how you could extend this to make a more end-to-end kind of scenario. So the way the sample works is, let me go ahead and run it. Oh, sorry, I'm like, there we go. So this is the sample. It's an ASP.NET web application. I'm going to go ahead and run it, and you can see what the web page looks like. And basically, it just has steps 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go find a file and embed ScriptLab into it, and then we're going to download it back, and then we'll see what that looks like. So the first step here is I want to go choose which file I want. I already have this Contoso workbook spreadsheet that I'll use, and open that. Then I'm going to click on this upload button, which is going to read that spreadsheet into memory. So now it's stored in memory in the web application. The next step is I'm going to embed ScriptLab into that file. There's an option here to specify which code snippet you want to see in there. I'll just use the default one, so I'll just do it this way. And then the final step is to click download to download that file, and you'll see here it's downloading. And this is the interesting part. When I open this, you're going to see Excel open up, and then you'll see that ScriptLab is already in there, and it opens up the task pane for ScriptLab as well. So that's pretty cool. Then you could imagine, you could do this with your own Office add-in. You could modify this code to instead open up your Office add-in. You could put whatever data the user had selected over here in the spreadsheet. There's additional parts you can do. Now, just to show how this works, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I think the easiest way to show what's going on here is to go to the downloads folder where it created the new spreadsheet instance. And as you probably know, these are always zip files. So if you just rename a spreadsheet to a zip, then it becomes a compressed file, and you can go into it and see the entire open XML structure of it. The important parts of this are if you go down to this Excel folder inside the file and you look at the web extensions, there's these two files here, task panes XML, web extension XML. So the way you insert your Office add-in is you basically create this XML. Let me open this up and show you what it looks like. And you can see a lot of this is pretty boilerplate. Like, it just never changes from one instance to the next. The key parts to understand are like you want to put in your, in this case, like the store ID of where that identifies it in your Office add-in in the store, and your store type. You can do this with the store or essentially deployed add-ins. Then you'll want to pass some properties. This part's important here. You want to have this office.autoshow task pane with document set to true. That's what causes the task pane to open. And then this is a custom property here just for ScriptLab that says, hey, here's the snippet to import, and we pass it that this is that default snippet ID. So you can put whatever custom properties you need for your Office add-in into this, basically what's a property bag. There's also the task panes XML. This is pretty much the same every time. It just specifies, hey, I have a task pane, here's how it's docking, here's my visibility, and so on. So how does this part get created? This is where OpenXML comes into play. And if I go back to the code, I have opened up in the ASP.NET project this OOXML helper.cs file. And in here, there's helper functions such as validating the Office file, which basically you use the OpenXML to open the file. And if it opens, it's valid. If it throws an exception, it's not valid. That's pretty simple how that works. Now, to actually embed the Office add-in, that happens here, this create web EX task panes part. And it's going to call two other functions, one which creates the web extension XML that you saw, and then this generate part content generates that task panes XML. So that's kind of the two key pieces there. So I just like to explain this by saying, like, basically all this code here is creating that file you just saw. That's all it's doing. So we can see here's my store ID, store type, and so on, all these values. So if you're using your own Office add-in, this is where you'd want to make your change to use your particular ID. Here's where you make sure your auto show task pane with document set to true. If you have custom properties you want to add, here's where you do that. You throw them into this property bag, anything you need. And that's pretty much it. And then this part for the task pane, this is always the same. This doesn't change. So let's see, that's pretty much how that works. Let me go back over to the article. So this is basically a part one of this sample. We're going to do a part two that's more end-to-end, because as you can see, right, basically what we're doing is saying, okay, here's this sample you can start with, and then you'll want to do some additional things to it. For example, you should use the Fluent UI. And if you go look at Fluent UI, I'll put all these links out later, by the way. you can get access to icons that you can use to represent opening up various documents. So I use the Excel icon in this sample. Then you'll want to upload to OneDrive. If your users are using OneDrive, it's more convenient if you can just integrate that right into OneDrive for them. So there's some steps here to create a Microsoft Graph project that shows you the code for uploading to OneDrive that you can add into your solution. Also, because this sample uses an existing spreadsheet, you'll probably want to create a brand new spreadsheet. And so there's some links here, and I realize it's probably like this link's broken, so I'll go back and fix this. But there's additional articles that show, hey, here's how you create a spreadsheet document using OpenXML. And then if you want to read the custom properties, if you're wondering how does my Office add-in read those properties out of that property bag, there's an article on that, which I will fix that link as well. By the way, the links are at the very bottom of the page. They work. You can use them now at the bottom. You'll probably want to initialize your document with data. There's a couple approaches for doing that. You could use the OpenOffice XML SDK to write that data into the document, or you could just pass a query in the property bag to your Office add-in so that when the add-in opens, it just runs the query against the backend database, and then it just inserts the data into the spreadsheet. Kind of depends on which approach you want to take there. One of the things, though, that you might probably run into is that the OpenXML SDK is based on .NET. So if your web application is not using .NET, you're using Node.js or some other platform, then you're going to have to find an alternative. So one option is there is an OpenXML SDK for JavaScript that you could use. Another approach, if that doesn't work, is you could isolate the OpenXML code part that like embeds the add-in into, say, like an Azure function, some kind of web function. That part runs .NET, but it's separate from your web application, so you can continue to use whatever platform you're using with your web application. And then, of course, we recommend using single sign-on to simplify things for your user, so they don't have to keep signing into stuff. Let's see. Let me go back. Trying to think if there's anything else I needed to show on that. So let us know. I'm going to start an issue in the PnP repo, and if folks want to give us feedback on that issue, like one of the questions we have is like, which of these approaches, if we've been in scenario, like, would you want to see, putting OXML in an Azure function as an approach, or would you want to see one of these other approaches, right? This is kind of where we're wondering, like, what would be the simplest, best way to show this as sort of an end-to-end, instead of like right now we just have pointers like, here's all the puzzle pieces and here's what the picture looks like on the front of the box, and and now you can put it together. But we kind of want to give you a finished puzzle if we can. So I will create that, and if folks want to comment on that issue, that would be great. All right, so I'm going to jump back to the slides. And next up is our community spotlight. So I want to send a big thank you to Martin Van Stam. Martin's been helping us with reviewing PRs and looking at issues on the PnP repo over the last month. He's made some contributions. I was also on a Twitch live stream that Martin runs every Thursday. I attended one last week, which was kind of fun, going through looking at PRs and things. So, if you want to contribute to the repos like the PnP repo, that's out there for the community, and it's intended, be by the community, for the community. And we recognize all contributions. This is one of the ways of doing it. We also recognize contributions in a monthly blog summary that we send out. So thank you, Martin, for that. And moving along, we got some Q&A. We had a number of questions come in from our Office forum. So I wanted to take a look at those real quick here. I'm kind of lumping some of these together. We had a number of questions that were all around what are the PowerPoint APIs plan going forward, Office.js APIs plans, like which APIs are you building? Hey, I'm blocked trying to, I need this specific API for PowerPoint so I can build my add-in. So I think actually Keyur pretty much addressed this when he was talking about the Excel API surface earlier, like our approach, if you're looking at VSTO, which has a huge API surface area, our approach is to prioritize the scenarios that unlock, the most folks out there. So the most helpful thing is like to let us know which scenarios you need enabled, and then we can take a look at those for planning purposes. And the way to do that is to go to the user voice site, which is, let me see, I have that over here. There's also the link at the end, but you can go on here and let us know what you need, and we take a look at those on a periodic basis to do our planning. There was a specific question about PowerPoint, the document doing a document.save. Again, that would be, please let us know on user voice some more details about that, what you're looking to do. And we look at things that have the upvotes are the things that we're going to definitely be taking a look at. We also had a question on if what the plans are for Blazor support. So as of today, our focus is on JavaScript. We're not really focused on Blazor, but there is a user voice request for Blazor. So I would say if you're interested in that, definitely go upvote that or comment on it and let us know, and we'll keep an eye on it going forward. And one other question that came in was, how do I close my documents? So if you're in Excel, you can actually close your workbook by using, and here's the code sample, context.workbook.close. And that'll work. However, this is not available in Word or PowerPoint. So if you need it in either of those host applications, again, go let us know on user voice about that scenario, and hopefully it gets upvoted and we take a look at it. So hopefully we're doing well on the other questions coming in over chat. So I'm going to keep on moving here. So if you want to engage with us in the future, like if you want to present during an upcoming call, that would be fantastic. We love having folks come present from the community about things that they're doing that are interesting to share with other folks. There's a link here to the Office Add-ins Engage, that AKA MS link. We can provide some details about yourself and what you want to present on, and let us know, and we'll reach out to you. You can also use this just to give us feedback on the docs if you want to do that as well. If you're new to Office Add-ins, here's some ways to get started. If you go to the AKA MS link for Office Add-ins docs, there's a number of quick starts on there where you can just build the first Office add-in in under 5 minutes. Great way to get started. Or you can go take a look at Script Lab, which is a nice way to, you don't have to set up a dev environment that way. You just go into the add-in and you can try out some code. And if you're looking to do some automation stuff like automating Excel tasks, go check out Office Scripts at the AKA MS Office Scripts docs link. Some additional developer resources for folks. There's the Microsoft 365 Developer Program, which allows you to get a free tenant for developing and testing purposes. So if you're serious about doing Office Add-ins development, definitely take a look at that. It's very helpful. There's also Script Lab. There's a link for that to try that out. It's very helpful for just trying things quickly to see how they work. There's also a link to our Office Add-ins documentation, as well as our custom functions documentation. In terms of where you can engage with us, if you have questions about how to do certain things in various scenarios, you can reach out to us on stackoverflow.com. There's a number of tags there that you can use for different areas of Office Add-ins. If you have found a bug of some sort, let us know on GitHub at the Office.js repo, and then that's where we track all of our bugs. And if you have feature requests, there's the user voice link to go let us know what scenario you need to be unblocked on. And of course, you can always send a smile or frown from inside Office itself. This is not the only community call out there. There's also others for Microsoft 365. So if you're interested in adaptive cards or Microsoft Graph, Microsoft Identity Platform, Microsoft Teams, Power Apps, or SharePoint, there's links there. Please go check out those calls if you're interested in any of those areas. And you can see a list of all the calls at the AKA MS link at the bottom there, M365 Dev calls. So that brings us to the end. So thanks everybody for attending. We will post a recording this soon after on our Microsoft 365 Developer YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev. And the next call, it's a second Wednesday of every month, so it'll be November 11th at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. There's a link there if you don't already have the invite. You can go to that link for the Office Add-ins community call and get the invite. And if you have questions that you'd like us to take a look at ahead of time, please go to the Office Add-ins forum link there, submit your questions, and we'll take a look at them. We address them in the Q&A section like we just did. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and we will see you on the next call.